Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Grapplers Academy. You've got the Bonafide PT, coached by Si. Before we get any further, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, and drop a comment below of any questions you might have for next week or next time.
Any ridiculous scenarios like the ones we've been reading off Reddit, we love.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through some more of those today. So if you've got any more ridiculous suggestions of questions for us to go through, then send those over because we love them. Anything like what we read out last week about going to the pub instead of BJJ, we're down with that. We were just talking then before we started recording about online privates, weren't we? That was one of the questions on the Reddit forum that we were looking at, and like the effectiveness of online privates. It's not something that I've really ever considered or even thought about for jiu-jitsu before, but like we said before, and you were just talking about Josh Hinger's method of doing online coaching, sounds fairly interesting.
Yeah, I'd also say as well, like an online private is pretty much an instructional.
Yeah.
Like you pay online that one fee, and you get your instructional, and you learn the techniques that are relevant to you. But like it's kind of hard to understand the format of the online private when from the post that we've sort of sent over to you. But I replied to it with something that I'd heard on the Matt Byrne podcast that Josh Hinger does, don't know if he still does, where you send him rolling footage or competition footage, and he will give you pointers and watch over it all, and essentially give you a program of here's what you need to do for this position, here's what you need to do for this position, tweak this, tighten this up, and it gives you basically a full rundown of areas for improvement, strengths, things to add in, and how to progress moving forward, which I think is a really interesting concept for jiu-jitsu.
I think just reading a little bit more into the questionnaire, it seems like it's a fairly simple explanation for the issue that the guy's having. He's like, I'm always getting guillotined. It's probably pretty clearly something that he's doing wrong, so why is he not getting that addressed in the class or in the coach? He's probably just sticking his head in too much. Pretty much the only reason you're going to be getting guillotined a lot. So I'm just struggling to figure out why that can't be deciphered between one of his training partners or his coach.
It's a bit of an odd one, isn't it? Because I see on the poster there wasn't a local black belt.
Yeah. But
I think nowadays he must be somewhere pretty remote, because the number of black belts is like pretty quickly increasing.
And even so, there's loads of great coaches that aren't. You don't have to be necessarily be a black belt to have a good eye for coaching and be able to pick up on details. I know a lot of guys as well that that they work away, and they might have trained up a couple of white belts with them when they're working away, and then they've got a good stable of guys with them as well.
Yeah,
it's like blue belt and upwards. You can be a pretty good coach if you've got a good understanding of it. Certainly enough to be teaching people who are brand new beginners.
Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between 0 and 2 years of well-trained jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
especially if you switched on with it. I completely agree with you with the online coaching kind of being like an instructional, and you it's specific to what you're addressing your points for as well. Because some issues that you might be having in the gym might not be necessarily, you're not going to find in one of Gordon Ryan's instructionals about this and that. And especially if you don't know how to break down bits of training well yourself, you can watch a really valuable instruction and go, all right, that's the thing that I need, if you know what you're looking for. But sometimes some details are just going to go completely over your head.
Yeah.
If you're a little bit less familiar with the concepts and the principles of jiu-jitsu, if you're just literally taking the face value of what the technique is, and you're struggling to kind of apply that concept to different areas of jiu-jitsu as well, you might be able to see some really great stuff, or maybe your coach is telling you something that you just can't sink in your head. Just because you don't understand the concepts, you're more just at that stage where it's about learning technique for technique. But I think online privates as well, it's difficult to say, isn't it? Because are you training there with a partner? Are they going to be, is the coach going to be able to see all the details if you've got a shitty camera angle set up or something like that? Can you see your pressure?
Is it going to be like a zoom interview type of thing?
It's got to be, hasn't it? I can't see how it'd be anything different.
I don't see how a Zoom online or a FaceTime online private would work for grappling. It's a tough one.
works fine for normal PT gym based sort of stuff because it's a lot more simple. I don't know, I'm struggling to think I'm sure the reason where it'd be good is for actually somebody who's a little bit more advanced in what they're doing already, and then you go to somebody who's got loads of expertise in one area, let's say you wanted to get shit hot at guillotines and you couldn't get anywhere near Dan Strauss or go and see him or whatever, and then you're able to get an online coaching session with him. Yeah. You're already at a pretty good level, maybe you're a decent purple belt, you're like, can you just go through this and that? I've got my training partner here, I want to really focus in on this one thing. I already understand the concepts, and I understand the concepts of jiu-jitsu and pressure and this and that, but I really want to work in on this one thing. Yeah. And that scenario for me seems like a little bit more plausible one, rather than somebody who's just like a complete beginner and you're trying to get that coaching not face to face.
Yeah, I can see something like that working possibly. For me, the logistics of that sound very messy as well. I really like the idea of what I mentioned earlier with the Hinger, where it's like rolling footage, send it, writes report out for you and things like that. But I can see how that Zoom one with training partners, a bit more experienced, and you want to refine certain techniques. Yeah. But for me, it takes away from the sensitivity issue of sometimes to really get a grasp of a technique, you kind of need to feel where the pressure goes, see how the angle of the hips works, or it's little things like that.
And that's where I think the value in instructionals is as well.
Yeah.
You can watch the instructional and great, and you can understand the concepts of it, even if you've got a good understanding of jiu-jitsu already. But until you take it onto the mats, there might be something that you're not getting, and maybe your coach is there and you go, I've been watching this instructional, I'm not quite getting it right, what's going on? He's just like, you just need to put your pressure here like this, and then you're like, right, that's why it's not working. Jiu-jitsu is such a funny one, isn't it? It's so sensitivity and touch based. It's almost impossible to get the 100% in-depth understanding of a technique without having somebody apply it on you. Like I've been saying all the way through already, you can understand the concepts and see basically how the technique's going down, but until you feel it, it's completely different. Whereas striking, it's kind of like you can see all the mechanics of what's going on, and it's a little bit easier to break down. You can do that from a more remote point of view, I guess. Because when your coach is striking you, they're not digging in a body shot.
No.
They'll show it on the pads or on the, depends what coach you've got. You'll see it on the pads, or they'll show you how to turn your hips, and you can right, okay, I get that straight away. And for a lot of the time, you can get that in jiu-jitsu, the coach was turn your hips, whatever. But yes, in certain circumstances, feeling it is the only way to really get that good understanding.
Yeah.
And I'd say, it's always a good point, it's all about being the dummy in the class. If you're the guy who's getting showed the technique on, I think you get a way better understanding of how it's supposed to be done than seeing it and then trying it on as well. And it's good for your training partners that you're training with. If you're the dummy that's being demonstrated on, and then you go back with your team, and then they're like, why am I not fucking getting this? And it's like, the coach is putting the pressure here. Everyone's like, right, that's how we do it.
Yeah. No, definitely. Can't think of anything.
No.
So that's quite a...
So sign up for our online...
sign up for our
online coaching pro.
Send us your rolling footage and we'll send you the invoice.
Kind of linked into that one as well as the next one, isn't it? And this guy here is looking for advice about starting jiu-jitsu. He's looking at getting into it, but he doesn't want to travel too far, and all the gyms around him are Gracie Barra gyms, and he's heard that there's a bit of a reputation about Gracie Barra gyms. I don't know why. For me, he's brought that up straight away, because it's almost something as a beginner you wouldn't even think of having.
Unless he's been sort of scrolling through Reddit for a while and seen all the...
if he's been scrolling through Reddit for that long that he's thinking about starting jiu-jitsu, you probably may as well have just started it by this point, hadn't he? Basically, the crux of this question is, if the only BJJ training facility near you was a Gracie Barra gym, would you go there, or would you decide not to train jiu-jitsu at all? Which is fucking ridiculous. Yes, go and train jiu-jitsu at your Gracie Barra gym, because you'll get really good at jiu-jitsu.
And if there are a couple of Gracie Barra gyms in your area, try each one of them out, because it's like a franchise where they've got a sort of set of rules across the board, but the atmosphere, the training partners, the coaching will differ from person to gym to gym. So if there are a couple of them, always try the numerous ones in the area. But don't not train because the only option's are Gracie Barra.
I mean, I don't know what the comment is here, but the first commenter on this post is called Ass Blasted Hater.
Sounds like he's going to have some positive stuff
Sounds
about
like
Gracie
he's going to have
Barra.
some positive feedback, doesn't he? Yeah, I mean, it's what a stupid question. Should I train at Gracie Barra or not train at all? Who's been putting some shit in your ear that you're going to not train at Gracie Barra if that's what's available to you? How many good guys from Gracie Barra gyms?
There's loads. Like I say, it might not necessarily be someone's first choice. Like, it wouldn't be my first choice. But if there's no option, I'm just going to train at Gracie Barra.
Yeah. You know, what are the downsides to training there, realistically? It's like... You know,
expensive gear.
You've got to buy the gear, you know...
Bow to the picture. I don't know, actually, is that one of them or...
Let's just say we did this. Clearly we've never been to... Yeah, no, I think it is to be fair.
Oh, is it?
Even if it is, if you've got to wear the uniform, which you have to do at a lot of participation things anyway, it's not that unusual. Like, most jiu-jitsu and MMA gyms are pretty relaxed nowadays. They don't really care about what gi you're wearing. They kind of like saying, if the Atos HQ was the only gym that I was able to train at, should I train at Atos HQ or not at all?
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, they're going to make you wear their gi, but you're going to get a good level of instruction.
100%.
You know, it's fairly strict and disciplined, but you're going to get good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to start, just start with whatever's available to you, whether that's if you just had a blue belt coach in the area and that was the only person for an hour around.
Better than nothing.
Get started, and then if you do decide that that's not good enough for you, now you've made a commitment to it, you might be willing to travel more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I've often seen that as well, you know, like people start training jiu-jitsu and then they'll learn more about what's in the area. Know other people that are training in the area and they're like, I'll come down and train with us, and then we talked about that before.
Yeah, the thing is, well, like once you get in the community, you hear about other gyms which aren't going to be at the top of Google.
Yeah.
So like you hear about, oh, there's an open mat at this place on a Friday night. It's kind of invite only, or if you know kind of thing. Get down to there, learn a different style, different type of rolling, test yourself against different people. Yeah, just start. Like there's nothing wrong with going to the gym, even if you've heard a lot of bad things about it or things that don't necessarily appeal to you. If you've got no other option for training, get down there, give it a go. If after you've tried it, you decide it's not for you, at least you've tried it.
Yeah, I think as well, like part of the issue back in the day was people not wanting you to go and cross-train at different gyms, was because like maybe you feel like you're giving away the instructor's techniques or this and that. There's so much on the internet now. Basically every technique that's available is out there. You can watch on YouTube or on Instagram. So I think there's a little bit less preciousness about not going to different gyms and
Gracie
stuff.
Barra still has that.
Yeah.
Can't train anywhere else mindset with like a lot of the core gyms. Because I remember the Goose, he's sort of been like debating it because of his local area, and guys that he spoke to have alluded that it's not very, it's frowned upon to go
That's
to
a good
other
point,
places.
actually. One of the guys who trains at my gym went down, was down south, and the only gym that he could pop into in the area was a GB gym, and they basically like made him feel pretty unwelcome, and he ended up like leaving the session off that basis. And I know the guy, he wouldn't have ruffled any feathers really.
No.
So no, it's like,
because even as a visitor, you have to wear their gear.
Yeah.
So which for me, I think if someone's not signed up for the monthlies but they want to turn up to an open mat, you can bend the rules a little bit. You don't have to be like you have to pay a tenner to rent a rash guard off us. It's just let them wear their own gear. But again, it's not my gym, not my rules.
yeah, I mean the top and bottom of it is if the GB gym's the only gym you've got to go and train at, then go and train there.
Yeah.
But you know, there's lots of other places. We've talked about it before. If that gym style or field doesn't suit you as a person, then you know, look at making a different investment. I mean, I've travelled more than 30 minutes to go and train before. It's not actually that far.
No.
If you can go in, you can maybe try the first couple of months or whatever. If you like it, great. Go and find somewhere else to train. If you don't like it, and actually you just don't like jiu-jitsu in general, then no big loss.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to travel and you can stay off Reddit bitching about Gracie Barra.
At least it's no longer going to be a what if.
Yeah. Plenty of people like to say, oh, I always really like to try jiu-jitsu but never start it. Should be no excuse really.
No.
Go try it. If you like it, great, carry on and join the jiu-jitsu family. If not, go back to screaming at the UFC on the TV.
Yeah. Stand them up.
I've not really read this one. This looks like quite a long one. The basic gist at the top of the thread is bad luck or bad behaviour, arm bar's gone wrong. I think the long and short of this one is people like snapping on submissions, isn't it?
Yeah. So like the writer, I think from what I remember, is somebody put an arm bar on but didn't sort of apply it, sit back and then apply it. They span around, grabbed the arm and then fell back, extending the elbow, and a few pops and clicks later they ended up in the emergency room. I don't know what the extent of the damage was. I can't remember if they said it, but it's sort of bad luck or bad behaviour. For me, I'd probably put that in the category of both. So I won't necessarily call it bad behaviour, but it's a bit of a dicky thing to snap on any submission. The ones you can't really snap on are like your head and arm chokes and stuff. Like it's kind of hard to squeeze those on, but limb locks, anything rotational, anything sort of where the ligaments are involved.
Imagine getting knocked out from a head and arm chop. Would that be what's that guy called? Detroit Urban Tactical. Fucking neck snap.
Sneaks up.
No, I think the gist of this is what we talked about quite a lot on here before as well, which is the guy's saying he's like let the guy pass his guard to side control, left his arm exposed for the guy to get the arm bar, and then he's just got a bit giddy and jumped on it. And what I'd say to that is, because I've been in this position loads of times before, like it get me a little bit frustrated as well, because I'm like, I'm giving you, we're both having an opportunity to work here, I've given you an opportunity to work your arm bar, and you've been a bit of an arsehole and just snapped it on. That kind of the advice that I was given on that is like, while you are kind of allowing your partner to work and you're trying to bring them along and give them some opportunities as well, always keep yourself safe at the same time.
Yeah.
So always have the ability to defend the technique and not just have your arm already fully exposed at the furthest point where it's going to get snapped off if they do just decide to jump it. You can still give them the arm, like you can maybe give them the arm where you've still got the S grip or something like that and expose it that way. So if they do snap it on, you've got that defence. But if they do secure it in a nice way and then they start extending it, you can just let go of your grip and let it fall through. And then you're not putting yourself at risk of injury. So that would be my advice in that scenario.
I think as well, like depending on how he passed guard, was it a little bit skittish and clumsy? Was it a nice controlled pass and they've been a bit of a dick when putting the armbar on? By the sounds of things, letting someone pass, letting someone get the arm, probably looked a little bit clumsy, a little bit skittish and excitable, and adding to the bad luck and bad behaviour, poor choice from the receiving end as well.
I think it says they were blue belts as well, both blue belts.
Oh, okay.
And there is blue belt's a weird one, isn't it? Probably the weirdest belt in jiu-jitsu, because there can be a really big skill difference between a less experienced blue belt and a really experienced blue belt. Probably even more so than like beginner, maybe not as much as beginner white belt to advanced white belt. But I think blue belt's quite a confusing one because there can be a big spectrum in terms of skill level there. So this is probably the belt where you're going to start coming up against this more and more often, because as a white belt, you're not like really giving other white belts opportunity to work their technique on you. You're probably still trying to work on what you're doing to some extent. So it sounds like this guy's the slightly more experienced one and trying to bring along his like teammates as well, which is like always a good mentality to do, like we talked about before. But at the end of the day, long and short of it is you've got to keep yourself protected, even if you are letting people work. I'd be very surprised in this scenario if the guy, as you'd said, had passed like really nice and controlled, got the setup really nice and controlled, and then just fucking ripped it on as he's sitting back.
Doubt that.
So be aware of those warning signals first. If somebody's puffing and panting and trying to get past you with a load of
and it's
like
just
sketchy energy,
clumsy.
Don't give that guy your arm.
No. Let him get your back. Let him get your neck. it might be a rough time for the neck, but at least you're not going to the emergency room with.
You're probably going to get punched in the ear while he's trying to set up the rear naked choke or whatever.
But you get the chance to pay it back in the next round.
No, because he was trying to help him.
This is my crossface.
I'm trying my side. Anything else?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, we've got Ruotolo brothers after their epic run at the Worlds, got their black belt, massive congrats, and was, like I was saying before, probably two of my favourite people to follow in the sport, alongside Craig Jones is there as well. Really nice, they're running, because I've seen them at competitions before, really nice, really friendly, like.
I mean, it makes everybody else in the jiu-jitsu community feel way better now at the skill level,
100%.
because when they were smashing everybody at blue belt, just embarrassing. Everyone knows they've been black belts for the last 5 years.
Oh,
they've been training for 15 years now.
Yeah.
You know, try and find anybody else in the sport who's been training 15 years with people of that level who aren't like world beaters. Yeah. It's ridiculous, and it's great to see them get the black belts as well. I really like the style that they play. I love their jiu-jitsu style.
Loose and fun, but aggressive at the same time. It's...
And they've grown into a pair of like big physical guys as well, haven't they? I really like the dart setups. They've got some really nice dart setups.
And like their match in the final, I've only seen the highlights of it so far, but from what I saw, action packed. Like I'm gonna.
And take some time to watch it. With those guys as well, it's like they've been in it for that long and they are young. They've not burnt out in the sport.
No.
And I remember listening to them on the Keenan on the Matt Byrne podcast.
Oh yeah.
And they were talking about they do other stuff. Like they don't let themselves get burnt out by just being only jiu-jitsu.
No.
Like they surf and whatever and this and that, play computer games, whatever. And I think that's important as well because you want to be in the sport for a long time.
Yeah.
And they have been in it for a long time. They're like top of the food chain basically. And it looks like they enjoy it. Looks like they're not going to be quitting anytime soon.
No, it'd be a shame if they do leave the sport.
With how young they are, that's some real good knowledge for them to, if they do want to end up getting into coaching and whatever, to be able to pass on to the next generation.
Definitely. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from how they train as well. Considering that they're 15 years in, I don't know of any severe injuries that they've suffered. I may be wrong here. But also, they don't look physically broken. There's not a bit of a limp as if they've got like damaged knees and ankles or hips. You don't seem to hear of any sort of back issues. And for someone 15 years in, that's pretty rare. Like, I know I walk a bit funky after a tough training session.
I mean, let's be honest, most people who we know that have been training for 15 years are probably in their 40s.
Yeah.
So, they're still young, give them time. My shit didn't start getting fucked up until I was 27.
Well, I guess if you look at like the Daisy Fresh lot, a lot of injuries out of that camp.
They train hard though.
Yeah. But, like I say, for these two to come out with what they've won, I think there's some secret. I think it is like down to having a life outside of jiu-jitsu. Yeah,
definitely, that's a big factor of it as well. But the other thing that probably overlooking as well is these guys have come. Let's say they've come up in Atos and they're the kids. Think about we've got a lot of younger guys that are a similar sort of age to these guys at 12 gauge, and we've been training with them since they were like 11 years old. They don't get beat up hard because they're kids and you train smart with them. So they've had like all these years of training with good people. The Ruotolo brothers, but not getting smashed like you do when you're training with another adult.
Yeah.
There's not that like ego energy there, so the kids can go as hard as they like and they're getting as much feedback as they want off those bigger bodies all the time.
Yeah, true.
And it's a good way to train and they've kind of grown into that, so I'm sure they have fucking killer rounds now and there's no holding back, but a lot of that training time would have been like quite nice and controlled, I would have thought.
And I can imagine as well actually, with all that experience, they've learned how to fall, they've learned how to move, their body's adapted to the sport. Because they've been in the sport since 5 years old?
Yeah, they've grown up doing jiu-jitsu and their bodies have matured doing jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah, so probably for the non-contact sort of like major injuries, they're not really, I can't see too many wear and tear injuries coming from them now. Now that you said that, yeah.
What have we got? I think it's this weekend. It's
Jones.
Cerrone and Craig Jones in
I
the
think
Combat
it is.
Jiu-Jitsu Worlds. This is the match I've been looking forward to.
Staying up for this one.
I'm pretty sure it's on the 19th, which is the Sunday, isn't it?
Early morning Sunday, or?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, cannot wait.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon is going to happen in that match?
If it gets past 2 minutes, it's going to be interesting. But it's as long as Cerrone can stop Craig Jones from leg locking him in the first sort of couple of minutes.
Do you think they're going to have a bit of fun with it, or do you think they're just going to go for a finish quick?
I don't know. With there being strikes involved, you can't play with strikes. Like, if you get a crisp slap across the face, that's going to sting and it's also going to hurt your pride.
You know what though? I reckon Craig Jones seems like the sort of guy to get slapped and start laughing.
Yeah. I can see him almost like going donkey guard and trying to get slapped in the ass.
I mean, that's the live stream for the OnlyFans. Cerrone can get his cut afterwards. Yeah, I don't know, like, I kind of see him playing around with it for a little bit. Maybe if Cerrone starts slapping him too hard, he'll just invert on a leg.
Yeah. Because I can see Cerrone being wise enough to have a base, know how to throw strikes and not get caught in a leg lock. But then also, Craig Jones will be crafty enough to devise a plan to expose a leg. But he must know that the whole world, or the whole jiu-jitsu world, is talking about him catching him with a leg lock. So do you think he's going to try and beat him some other way?
I don't know. I really don't know.
He sort of like really does get sort of stuck and he's like, I need to get out of it, I need to finish this, then it's leg lock time.
That's what I mean. I think if he starts getting hit hard and a lot in a short space of time, he'll be looking for that escape and the finish.
Yeah.
Even though Cerrone is a black belt,
yeah,
I believe he's a black belt and he's really skilled, he's not got that high level of skill at the leg lock game.
No.
Just because he's not been exposed to it as much.
Yeah.
To the same level of Craig Jones as well anyway. I think that they have a little bit of some sort of training exchange in the tough camp.
I don't think Cerrone was there, was he?
I'm sure I've seen a little bit of a clip or at least a photo with him doing a little bit of sparring.
I don't know.
But regardless, it should be an interesting match anyway.
Yeah.
I'm super looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait for this one.
It's like just a little bit of fun. I'm hoping they just have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope it's like nothing too serious. You can sort of see good few scrambles, good few exchanges. There's part of me as well that's thinking it's going to be this. It's going to go the same way as the Jake Shields match, where Craig Jones gets underneath him, exposes the leg, and finishes it in less than 90 seconds.
I'm trying to find any evidence to back up my claim. Oh, there we go. Something.
Yeah, I think he might have come in to help coach, so I think they were sort of just doing a little bit of rolling there.
Yeah. Good match anyway. I'll definitely be watching that one, and we'll definitely be talking about that next time we're back in.
I think one last little bit as well. Meregali.
Right, okay,
getting DQ'd from the Worlds. I don't know whether it was the semi-final or the final, but threw a finger up to the crowd, DQ'd after going through and absolutely dominating every single match he was in. Like,
you get DQ'd in the match or at the end of the match?
In the match, I think it was. I don't think it was after the match, I think it was in the match.
So the crowd was booing him and the ref just booted him?
Sounds like it.
What do you reckon to that?
I don't know. Like, there's part of me that's like, they do have the rule of no aggressive communication off with anybody on or off the mat.
It's got to work both ways then, surely, hasn't it? Depends what level of shit they were giving him.
Yeah. Because like, you can see sort of why, like, if they've got that rule in there, they can't make an exception for one person and another person, so they kind of have to be strict with it. But for me, it's a bit like you've just robbed everybody of great matches. Like, you're gonna sacrifice this sort of match entertainment just because someone's put the middle finger up to the crowd. Give him a penalty point, warn him. That's the thing, there's not enough warnings in jiu-jitsu unless it comes to reaping. If you reap in the knee, you'll get a little warning, don't do it again. But a lot of the time it's kind of like, especially if Meregali is Brazilian, into.
I find it almost unbelievable that you get a DQ just for sticking your finger up at the crowd.
Yeah.
Seems like there must have been more to it than that.
From what I can gather, that's pretty much what it was. But I think the IBJJF's still under the illusion that this sport was built on respect and honour.
Respect.
Whereas the truth of the matter is, it was a bunch of rich kids, the Gracies, dojo storming, fighting. There wasn't any respect and honour, it was a fight for the top.
Where were the Worlds?
California.
Right, okay. I don't know. It's not that bad.
No.
I don't think it's that bad to deserve a DQ.
No, not at all.
A little bit harsh.
Give him a warning, say don't do it again, take a point off him. Like, at the very worst, that's all that should have happened.
I mean, the crowd's either just going to start laughing or giving him more shit.
Yeah.
Nobody in the crowd's going to be like, oh, I'm offended.
No. How dare he flip the bird at me?
I mean, how else is he supposed to respond? Like, unless the referee's going to equally turn around and tell the crowd to shut up.
Which they're not, because they're not going to control the crowd, are they?
So, I don't know, whatever. I don't think he should have been DQ'd on that personally.
No, not at all. On that note, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If we've got any of the details wrong in the stories, please correct us as well, and we'll be more than happy to go over that with you.
If Ass Blasted Hater is in the comments on this one, write in the comment what you wrote on the post, because I didn't see it, I just saw you tagged them. So maybe you can enlighten us on that, or let us know what your thoughts are on the combat jiu-jitsu match.
And we won't be here next week or the week after, we're taking Christmas off, so we'll see you guys in the new year. Yes. And have a fantastic Christmas and New Year with your family. Yeah. We'll see you there.
If you don't get the presents you like, then just strangle your relatives.
Exactly.
They're all jiu-jitsu players.
See you later, guys.